Hey everybody, welcome to FSH's Fantasy Sports Podcast for the weeks of July 16th to July 29th. We're doing 2 weeks here because we had an all-star break. Talking fantasy baseball. I'm Pete. I'm here with Leland.
Hello.
And Ryan.
Hello.
Yeah, so we're talking about the trade deadline stuff. It's coming up. It's July 31st, this Tuesday, 4 p.m.
Yeah. Well, next Tuesday.
Yeah, well, it's this coming Tuesday, though.
Yeah.
When the podcast will be out, it'll be this Tuesday.
Yeah, but there's a lot of stuff going on now, finally. I mean, there was a decent amount last week, but now it's really getting, intense. Before we get into the trade stuff, just talk about some of the call-ups and stuff like that, because they're pretty big ones.
Yeah, so let's talk about, what is it, from Rangers recalled Delino DeShields.
Yeah, Delino DeShields Jr., Rangers outfielder, who he hasn't really hit it all this year as far as batting average, but he's still stolen a decent amount of bases. So if you're in need of just steals, I think he's going to play every day. And there's a chance that Sin Shu Chu gets moved too, which would give him even more of an opportunity. And then also the Rangers recalled Willie Calhoun, who is one of their top prospects, and he started out slow, but he's been hitting a lot lately. And the Rangers should start playing their younger players. What do you think, Ryan, about Calhoun as an ad?
Yeah, Calhoun's got a lot of power, and that's why he was a good move. He was moved last year from the Dodgers to the Rangers, and he's a much better fit in the AL. So hopefully they'll see more playing time. I don't see any reason why they shouldn't. Like you said, the Rangers don't have much to play for this season, and they need to start giving their younger players more of a chance. So hopefully we'll see him in the lineup every day.
And his numbers last year were ridiculous. I think he had over 30 home runs and hit over 300. I don't know how favorable the league was because I'm not too familiar on every minor league, But, yeah, as you said, they should let him play every day.
And so the Pirates recalled Austin Meadows. Corey Dickerson was just placed on the 10-day DL, so Meadows should see regular playing time. What do you guys think about that?
Well, he started out so good when he got called up initially, and then he really slumped, and they started moving away from him because Dickerson was doing so well and Polanco started to hit again. But, his numbers are really solid, and he has power-speed combination. What do you think, Ryan?
Yeah, like you said, he showed off the power speed to begin the season, and he kind of slumped off. But even when he slumped off, it was an empty batting average. So obviously Dickerson's just on the 10-day DL. I believe it was a hamstring issue. You can correct me if I'm wrong, but it shouldn't be too long that Meadows will have a full-time role unless he really lights the world on fire again. So he's a good temporary ad.
Yeah, I was hoping maybe Dickerson would be moved while he was playing so well, but now that he got injured, it kind of hurts that, from happening.
So the Twins recalled Michael Sano.
Miguel. Same thing, yeah. He was banished for a long time.
He's back.
To the wastelands of high A. Yeah, that was a rough punishment.
I think we were speculating a lot that it was
Like a
purely
punishment?
performance-based. Yeah, he was just either too obese or, I don't know, off-the-field stuff. But
yeah, he had some off-season stuff too, right? So there might have been a few things mixed into that demotion, but that doesn't take away from his potential in the field. That's for sure.
Yeah, he has elite power upside. He could probably, in a full season, hit 40, but
If he keeps his nose clean.
Exactly. This guy was a guy who was in the home run derby last year. So, he's legitimate power.
And we'll get into Sano a little bit later. And then there were some pitchers that got recalled, too, that we're talking about.
Jamie, what's his Barria?
Jaime Barria.
Jaime, yeah. These ridiculous Spanish names here.
Well,
the White Sox, right? He'll start against the White Sox this Monday.
Well, that already happened. So.
Oh, okay. Well, now this podcast will be able to be happening.
Yeah, but he's solid streaming off just because the Angels should provide a decent amount of run support. And, same with Frankie Montas, who was recalled. But let's get into more the more prominent pitchers. Shane Bieber was recalled, and I think he got lit up on that last start, but it could have been because he was dealing with something. And the Indians just provide so much run support. He should get wins there.
Yeah, and his demotion was never really fully performance-based. It was the All-Star break, giving him some regular reps down in the minor leagues, so it's not like his job is in jeopardy. I mean, one bad start from a rookie is not going to ruin his chances, especially with the Indians. He's going to, like you said, have such a favorable position for the offense backing him.
Yeah, and then the next two players we're going to talk about are kind of the same in the same situation. Freddie Peralta was recalled for the Brewers, and
he's going to return to the starting rotation this Wednesday against the Nationals.
If he was dropped, I would add him in probably all leagues. Maybe not 10, but 12 definitely. And same thing with Walker Buehler. And then let's start getting into like trade speculation because there's a lot of it to cover. Some of it a little bit more important than others, but
there's a lot of speculation right now. Right for deadline, so you're hearing a lot of it.
The Dodgers have interest in acquiring Shane Green from the Tigers. And we've already seen Joe Jimenez take over for Green while he's on the DL, so he's the person I would stash. But obviously, Green has to get moved. And if he does, he's not going to be closing anymore because Kenley Jansen is... let's see. Dodgers also are interested in acquiring Kela from the Rangers. And once again, they're both just going to become setup men, pretty much destroying their value. The Yankees have interest in acquiring Ermit Santana from the Twins. I didn't know that one. You heard that, Ryan?
Yeah, that was rumored. Obviously, that might have changed with Happ being acquired.
Right.
But basically, we know the Yankee starting rotation has not been a strong point. But since they've acquired Britton and Happ, they could technically go a full game with elite relievers, honestly, if they wanted to late in the postseason. Mm-hmm. But they still have the interest in making sure that the rotation is solidified for the rest of the season.
Yeah, even Betances can go like 3 if he really needs to. He used to be a starter and stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, also with the Yankees and the Dodgers and the Padres, they all have interest in acquiring Chris Archer from the Rays.
Mm-hmm. And, I mean, Chris Archer's been rumored to be getting traded for a while now. I think the Dodgers had interest in him last year, but maybe this is finally the year. The Rays are playing really well, but they have to know that they can't compete with the Red Sox or Yankees yet.
Yeah, they'd be playing well if they were in the AL Central, not the AL East, right? So it's a little bit different.
Yeah, they should be a wild card team. It's just unfortunate that the pretty much 2 best teams in the AL are in the same division with them.
Right.
Well, when they move to Vegas, it might be all fixed.
Oh, that was personal. I feel like that was personal. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, I don't think they'll move. But.
I think we already commented on Real Muto to the Nationals last week, but that's still being rumored to happen. And I mean, you can't really go from any worse of a lineup than Miami. So
yeah,
I'm surprised he hasn't been moved so far. Honestly, that's like their most valuable piece left, and they haven't moved him.
Maybe he was dealing with some injury stuff. I don't know if that's anything to do with it, really, but because you have to pass a physical when you get traded.
True.
See. The Phillies and Indians have interest in Joey Gallo, which, I mean, the Rangers are not the worst lineup, but not really the greatest. And Cleveland would be much better than Philadelphia, but they're still both upgrades. He might actually hit more home runs in that ballpark in Philadelphia. I don't know, but let's see. The Brewers are interested in Brian Dozier from the Twins, and the Twins just traded Escobar, so maybe Dozier's the next to go, but
that would increase his value right there, Milwaukee, right?
Yeah, well, the Twins aren't a terrible lineup, but yeah, Milwaukee would be a huge upgrade.
Yeah, we'll see where that would leave them after their other recent acquisitions, but that might squeeze some people out of the Brewers lineup. We'd have to wait and see.
Right, because they have Travis Shaw now playing second and mixed with Moustakas. We'll get into that a little bit later on, but yeah.
And so the Braves acquired right-hand pitcher Brad Brock.
Yeah.
The Orioles.
From Freehold, New Jersey.
Yeah, it's from right around here.
And, I mean, Vizcaíno's on the DL for another, I think, 2, maybe more. I mean, this has been a recurring shoulder injury, but AJ Minter, I think, should still see save opportunities. He hasn't really done anything not to. Maybe they trust Brock more because he's a veteran, and they'll mix them both in. And then the Brewers got Joaquin Soria, and obviously he's not going to be the closer there, Corey Knebel. Who do you think is going to be the closer in Chicago?
It's a good question. I know, obviously, Nate Jones earlier this season had some chances, some save chances, but he's injured. He's out, yeah. And Jace Fry is now getting some opportunities, and he's blown one just the other day. but I think he does have the most potential. So hopefully he'll continue to get a few more save opportunities because he's got a pretty good whip and great K potential. So I'd like to see Fry in the closer position.
Yeah, and if Nate Jones were healthy, they'd probably be just showcasing him for a trade anyway.
Exactly.
Let's see. The Athletics acquired Familia. We speculated on that happening, not to the Athletics. I think it was more of maybe the Astros or something like that. But obviously, he's going to set up Blake Trinan there. He's not going to get many save opportunities, and we're going to get into who we think are the ads for the Mets, but it's looking like Swarzak until he gets moved, and then Gesellman. But like I said, we'll get into that later on.
The Orioles, as we talked about, actually, this agreed to trade Zach Britton to the Yankees. I know we mentioned this a little bit earlier.
Yeah.
For pitching prospects, Dylan Tate, Josh Rogers, and Cody Carroll.
Yep, and obviously Brad Brock is not going to be closing in Baltimore anymore after he was moved, so maybe it's Michael Gibbons, but he's probably going to get traded. Everyone in that bullpen who possibly could see a save opportunity is likely going to get moved.
Nobody is safe.
The Orioles are slowly turning into the Royals bullpen. And then we have Brad Hand, who the Padres traded to Cleveland, and I mean, Cody Allen's been terrible for most of the season, so there's a chance maybe he'll see some save opportunities. He is a lefty, so that might hurt, but so is Andrew Miller, and he's coming back too. So if you're a Cody Allen owner, I would start to get nervous right now.
And the Padres got a good return. They got Francisco Mejia, the catching prospect. So, like we said, he might not be called up this season. He's still got some polishing to do, and the Padres aren't playing for a playoff spot. So you're most likely looking at a cup of coffee in September, or maybe a call up next year. But he is definitely someone to keep an eye on, that catcher.
Well, it's interesting because Austin Hedges is a really good defensive catcher, and he's still kind of decent hitter and young. But Mejia can play third and outfield, so he might not ever get catcher eligibility, which is going to hurt his value for fantasy.
That would.
Let's see. The Red Sox got Nathan Eovaldi for Jalen Beeks. This is a pretty good deal for the Rays.
And so far for the Red Sox, too.
Yeah.
I mean, even today, I think he went 7 innings, 5 Ks, Eovaldi, in his first start for the Red Sox. So could work out well for both. But, yeah, the Rays signed Eovaldi last season on a 2-year deal. He sat out all of last year after Tommy John. And he had half a good season, so they flipped him for Jalen Beeks. Worked out pretty well for both sides.
But he's still relatively young, and he's always had some of the highest velocity in the league, too.
Yeah, and
velocity.
Let's definitely, get him in some profile photos so I can, make some posts with him. Red Sox. Let's take some pictures of him in the uniform.
It's going to take, maybe not that he played in a game for them. They'll hide that
now I'll be able to get that. The Yankees acquired Jay Happ from the Blue Jays for Brandon Drury.
Yeah.
Weren't you guys saying this was a little confusing?
No, it's just I thought it was. I guess you're not really get that much for Jay Happ. He's not the most impressive starter. He's probably like a number 3 at best. But I mean, Brandon Drury's not really that much of a prospect. Billy McKinney, I guess, is. But the Yankees should offer more run support and win potential. I don't know, Ryan. I'm not really the biggest Jay Happ guy. If you want to try and talk him up.
Yeah, he's like you said. He's the middle of the rotation arm at best.
Right.
Honestly. He's gotten a lot bigger K potential this season than he has in the past by keeping the fastball
fluky,
up.
Though.
Yeah, it's honestly been his fastball that he's getting the most whiffs on, and nobody does that. Literally nobody does that. So it's not completely sustainable, but the way the Yankees rotation is shaped out, they needed someone. It's been an upgrade. They've been having to throw rookies in all year. So that is going to help them. Exactly.
Lasagna.
Sessa, yeah, all these players that we didn't really know going into the year.
Sabathia.
Yeah, exactly. But the Drury coming back is a little bit interesting, like you said. I mean, he's only 25. I didn't realize that until today. So he is pretty young still.
Positions.
So yeah, they're probably hoping for some kind of super utility down in the future.
I don't know. Toronto's got a weird team going on.
So the Cubs acquired Cole Hamels, 34-year-old, from the Rangers.
Yeah, I mean, you can't really get much of a worse pitcher park or situation to be in than Arlington. So I know Wrigley's not the greatest, but he should get a lot more run support. And I'm hoping that him having, like a chance to get wins in like a World Series again might reinvigorate his career and he'll pitch a little bit better. But I own him on one team, so I'm not trying to be too biased about it. I don't know. What do you think about that Cole Hamels move, Ryan?
Yeah, I mean, obviously he's a little bit washed up from what we've seen in the past, but like you said, we saw some rejuvenation with Verlander last year. Obviously, he's been phenomenal ever since that trade, playing for something again. And Hamels has been really good in the postseason in the past, so it could end up working out. It's definitely going to work out better than the Cubs getting Darvish in the offseason, so can't be worse than that.
No, that's yeah. But I mean, the thing about the Verlander stuff, didn't his deeper splits or area indicators show that he should have been better? I don't know if Hamels do that.
Yeah, Hamels is not the pitcher that Verlander was even before the trade. But
yeah, like even bad
just,
Verlander is better than a good Hamels.
Exactly, yeah. So obviously you look at Hamels and back in the Phillies teams of old when he was excelling. He's not at that level anymore.
It's
The
just
K rate's
13th year
been
in
better.
league.
Yeah, the K rate's been a little bit better, but maybe a change of scenery will give him a little more focus.
Mm-hmm. And then the Diamondbacks acquired Eduardo Escobar, which pretty nice move for them. They could play him at third for Jake Lamb has been struggling. They could play him at short for Nick. Who's playing at short for the Diamondbacks?
Nick Ahmed.
It's not Chris Owings.
I think they've been splitting time. Last game that I watched was Nick Ahmed.
They're both pretty terrible. And then at second they have Ketel Marte, who's decent. So yeah, this is a pretty good move for them. And Minnesota, it looks like they're starting to just sell everybody off. Ryan Presley also got traded to the Astros, but I don't know if he's going to get many save opportunities.
Exactly.
And then Phillies acquired Asdrubal Cabrera
From the
from
Mets.
the
Yeah.
Mets. I didn't think the Mets were going to get much for him. He's pretty old, but
Any upgrade, right, for them?
for the Phillies, yeah, I
Yeah.
guess it is. Scott Kingery's been terrible. Otherwise, they probably just play him every day. And I don't know. They don't like Franco, but what do you think, Ryan? I mean, I don't own any shares of Cabrera. I thought he was kind of done, but
Yeah, he's at least 32. I want to say he's maybe older. So it's hard to say because he doesn't really play good defensively for the shortstop position. That's where they're playing him because Crawford's been real bad. Kingery's not been very good either, obviously. So they do have some good bats. They have Hoskins in the lineup. They have
Herrera,
Abdul Herrera.
Carlos
Yeah,
Santana's
exactly.
Okay, he's not the greatest.
Right.
Franco's
So it's
okay.
definitely going to help the Phillies.
Cesar
offense,
Hernandez
but
is
it's
good.
not pushing them over the edge.
So back to Brewers news.
Yeah, a lot of Brewers stuff.
Cream City, man. Brewers acquired Mike Moustakas from the Royals.
Yep. I thought they could have got more out of that trade. I don't think Brett Phillips is really that much of a prospect anymore. Or, I don't know. He hasn't really shown a whole lot. But I don't know. The Royals are, I mean, they've done it before, making pretty good moves. So it's hard to really discount them. But I'm kind of confused on the Brewers end. They're going to make Travis Shaw play second. I don't know. They could have
That
just
just
traded
tells
for
me
Jonathan
that they
Scope.
probably won't get. They probably won't get a Scope or a Dozier if they're willing to make this move. That's kind of what it looks like.
I think the Twins were asking for way too much for Dozier. That's probably what happened.
Right. Yeah, definitely could be it. But I mean, the Brewers obviously they're looking to make moves. This is they're all in this year. That's for sure.
And then, as we all know, we've all heard this one, how Manny Machado has been traded to the Dodgers. Cal Ripken's really sad.
I don't know if he
Let's
cares
talk
about
about
it
that.
anymore. But Yasniel Diaz is obviously the biggest name in this deal. He's unlikely to get called up this year. What do you think, Ryan? Do you think he'll make any kind of a difference in the second half?
No, not that the Orioles have many players blocking him, but they just don't have anything to play for, like some other teams we mentioned this season. So he's a good all-around player, and he's going to have a lot of future value, but probably not until next year.
Yeah, even his upside is not that impressive. Maybe 2020 at best, but I don't think he profiles out as that. Maybe 15, 30.
Yeah, like a really good everyday player, but not a superstar.
I think the
by any
Orioles are
means.
just in the place of trying to get as many prospects as they can and hope something hits instead of trying to just land one big one like Mejia or something.
Exactly. High ceiling, low floor.
On injury news, let's go through the hitters.
Not that much.
Yeah.
Not that much.
Gleyber Torres, back.
I think he returned a couple of days ago, but obviously it's,
You think he's the big reason the Yankees stayed away from Machado?
oh, yeah, they have Gregorius and Andujar and they don't really need Machado. Well, I mean, you could always use him, but
You have to rotate him in somehow.
they really need more. I don't know. They need more of a first baseman, but I don't think they should give up on Greg Bird yet either. They don't really need anything.
Yeah, they're pretty set.
I know, they're like
that's
pretty
the truth.
loaded. They don't really need a whole lot, even though they go out and get Zach Britton, and they already have the best bullpen probably
But the Red Sox
in the league. But and then Yasuo Puig returned. I don't really care. I just don't really want to own him. I don't know, Brian, how you feel about owning Puig, but
He's really volatile, but if there's any time of the season that he's going to be able to have a surge and be valuable, it'll probably be now, towards the end of as we get into the postseason. He had a home run in his first game back, I believe. So, I mean, he's got so much potential. He's just one of these flaky guys who's always injured or having motivation problems. So he's a risk, but he's also could be a high payoff.
mm-hmm. And Jonathan Villar is probably a week or so away, but I think this Moustakas trade kind of kills whatever value he might have had. I guess he could play in the outfield still, but doesn't look that good, and there are already not that many speed options available.
Right.
Then the Pirates, Josh Bell and Corey Dickerson are both just put on the 10-day DL. I think we already mentioned the Dickerson one doesn't look that serious. He probably will miss the minimum. I don't think the Josh Bell one is that serious either, but this Brendan Belt hyperextended knee, that could probably be more than just the 1 to 2 weeks. He's got a long injury history. No more Mazzara on the Rangers. Sprained right thumb. Probably miss the next couple weeks.
And then Wilson Ramos
for Tampa. Yeah, he's
out.
Another player that's had a long history of injuries, and he's a little bit older, so they're going to bring him back slowly. But I'm also, he was rumored to be getting traded. I don't know if that kind of keeps this from happening, but Gary Sanchez.
Yankees catcher out.
They should have maybe let him stay on the DL a little bit longer.
Yeah,
apparently.
He's out 3 to 4 weeks, probably longer. Re-aggravated a groin injury. This Carlos Correa injury is just dragging and dragging on. I thought he was going to miss the minimum. It's been like almost 2 months, and they're just kind of babying him. I guess they don't really need him because they keep winning games without him, so why rush?
That's true. Yeah, I mean, they want him for the postseason. They know they're going to be there.
Right. So, Chris Bryant, this is another re-aggravation of a former injury, and he wasn't really hitting that well before this, so that might have something to do with it.
Aaron Judge out also for the Yankees.
Yeah, this is a pretty significant injury. It's looking like he's going to miss 3 to 4 weeks at the minimum. So
it'll be a little different after, yeah. Have to get back.
Yeah, the wrist is a little bit worrisome too. I mean, obviously it's Judge. He's not going to have a problem with power, but it does. Wrist and hand injuries do have power in a lot of players.
Mm-hmm.
Got the rehab for sure.
Jose Altuve, how serious of an injury do you think that is, Ryan?
I don't think it's been made to be too big of an issue so far. He's not really injury prone either. It's right knee discomfort. So they're talking early August at the moment, so you might just miss the minimum time. So I don't think it's going to be long term. It's just kind of mysterious at this moment what it is.
It could be bruise or strain. It could be nothing.
What about the Devers injury, the hamstring strain? Because he's a pretty big guy, and I feel like that might be more of a long-term thing. It can linger.
Yeah, we've talked about that before, right? It kind of seems like if you're not in the best shape, as Devers is in a shape, but it's not necessarily a good one, you kind of have those problems, right? And could be more injury-prone, especially because he's so young. He doesn't look necessarily that he's so young, but I want to say he's like in his early 20s, right?
I think he's like 22, 24, something like that.
21. He's 21 years old. So, I mean, if you're having the same problems that we had with Tanaka or one of these other older pitchers, then it's kind of worrisome when you're playing third days.
He's like 29 or something. And he
just has the face of a 40-year-old, yeah.
Yeah, Devers, their lower body injury, too, so that might have to deal with like the added weight, putting stress on his legs and stuff.
And that's where everything starts, defense and offense starts in the leg. So, yeah, it's a little worrisome.
Yeah, it could affect his hitting. Justin Turner, a little bit older of a player, definitely becoming pretty injury-prone. A lot of lower body injuries, too. He's dealing with the groin strain. He might be out maybe 1 to 2, but it could be longer just because of his track record. And Josh Donaldson, I feel like we talk about him every week. I just don't even know what's going on with him, really.
Yeah, it's not been a good season from one thing to another with the shoulder and the calf. It's really looking like his health has
Pretty lost
dropped off in
year.
a big way.
Hmm.
Yeah,
They can't even move him because it, I don't know who wants to really trade for somebody just to put him in the DL like that.
exactly.
Jesse Winker out for the year. He was just starting to come around, and people had talked him up before the season even started as a breakout candidate. It looked like it was starting to happen in a pretty decent lineup.
Yeah,
Out
it's
for the season.
disappointing to see him out, but he's out for the rest of the season, which is tough.
Shoulder surgery.
Yeah, and he was being an on base machine before this, so it's disappointing.
And he had decent power and a little bit of speed. I mean, not a huge amount of upside, but definitely could hit for average.
And he did it all with a
Right.
wink. Cespedes out with ankle surgery, right? Out for the season too.
Yeah, Cespedes.
You love him, right?
Sure.
He's my favorite player. Now he can ride all the horses he wants and not have to worry about playing any kind of real
I just
sport.
wish there's one week where we could not talk about Cespedes and his horses as hard.
Well, we don't have to talk about him anymore. Season's over.
There you go.
Rest in peace, Yoenis Cespedes.
Going on to pitchers, let's talk about the.
Yeah, not as many as the hitters. Max Fried returned. Zach Eflin returned this week. It's looking like Carlos Martinez and Noah Syndergaard are going to return early next week. And Brendan Morrow, who did not get hurt putting on pants this time, it was a different injury.
That's gonna be next week for return.
Yeah, possibly. Maybe it might be towards the end of next week. But Hyun-Jin Ryu is looking like he's finally going to return after really long. I think he's been out like 4 months or something.
Wow.
It's a really bad groin strain. Oh,
Yeah,
gosh.
it's pretty significant tear, something like that. Michael Walker, looking like maybe several weeks away. Steven Strasburg, I feel like he's always making his way on here. But
Yeah, until this list.
this is a new injury. Or is it a re-aggravation of the same one? Shoulder inflammation, but he's probably going to be out at least 2 weeks, maybe more. Blake Snell, Ryan, would you know better than I would when his timetable is?
Yeah, it was just 1 week supposed to be that he was out, missing one start, back to a bullpen session the other day, so he should be back for his next start.
I think we already mentioned Vizcaíno earlier. It's probably 2 to 3 weeks away still. Darvish, I really don't know what's going on with that guy. Probably another month or so. He's really
At
taking his
least.
time. Eduardo Rodriguez might be done for the year. I think they're still trying to, sort of like with Ohtani, give him time to heal enough to decide on whether or not he's done, but it's looking like he might be done for the year. And that's it for injuries.
Yeah, moving on to ads. Talk about them.
Yeah, the first one's a little weird because there's a chance he's probably already owned, and mainly because of name value alone.
Right.
But Robinson Cano on the Mariners. I don't know, Brian. What do you think? I mean, if he is available, would you start stashing him now, or is it too early? How do you feel about that?
I feel like because of the name value, if you want him, you're going to have to start sashing him now. So if you're in a good position and you can kind of put him aside and put him on the bench for now, he was having a great season before he had his suspension. Now, of course, there might be a little bit of regression.
Right, 'cause
Coming
he's
back
not
into the
on
lineup.
PEDs anymore.
You never know. He might be able to figure out how to
Exactly.
choose.
But I mean, I
wouldn't
don't
pass
know
to
if
figure out how to
any
choose.
indication. I mean, Starling Marte came back pretty,
Right,
what
and
he
he's still
already
hitting for
used to do.
power.
Yeah, exactly. So,
Yeah,
but Ryan Braun looks done. So you never know.
Right,
And
I
he's
think
a little
that's
bit
just 'cause
older of
it's
a
Braun.
player. Yeah, but
I
Cano
think
was
the
hitting
one
over
thing
280.
yeah, with some power. And as far as I understand it, you think PEDs, you think strength, but a lot of the times it's just to be able to allow your body to heal and endure a full season. So I don't think you need to assume his power is going to be gone when he comes back. So he's worth a pickup, especially at second base.
Yeah, that's usually the angle they go for when they
Yeah.
when they're up at the podium. Miguel Sano, we already mentioned him a little bit, but I see he's just above 50% owned, so there's still a chance that he's not rostered, and he's first into third base eligible, which is pretty useful. I don't think he'll ever hit for average. I don't know, Ryan. I mean, to me, I think his floor is probably going to be 250. I don't think he'll ever hit 280 or anything like that.
No, I don't think so either. He's a pretty typical big guy with a lot of power, low average, but the power is, over full season, it's maybe 40 home run power maximum. So you got to be able to go on that upside and pick him up if he's already dropped in one of your leagues.
Yeah, I mean, the nice thing about owning him is you pretty much know what to expect at this point as far as batting average and home runs are concerned, but hopefully the counting stats aren't hurt too much by the trades that, once Dozier's gone too, it's going to leave Rosario and maybe Kepler. It's not a whole lot left.
And consider too, he's in the Central. There's not a lot of strong pitching against their opponents, so he's getting a pretty favorable position despite what will be a weaker offense.
And then
Steven Piscotty in Oakland. He's had a very difficult emotionally, past few years. Understandably, it's made it difficult for him to focus on baseball. So let's talk about him for a little bit.
Well, yeah, he had a really good season with St. Louis, and then his mother got sick the next year, and he had a really poor season. And I think he's from Oakland, so he requested a trade, and the Cardinals are good enough to do that for him. And he started out slow this year, but he's starting to show the upside that he had that first year in St. Louis. And I mean, he doesn't have the highest upside in the world, but he's definitely worth owning.
Yeah, and all around production too. So obviously he's got a little more ability to focus now that he's not focusing on his mom 24/7. So he's got some average, some power, a couple steals thrown in there, and his ownership's been going up. So you got to make sure to get on the waiver wire and grab him quick if he's still available.
And Oakland's lineup is a lot better than I thought it'd be. I mean, obviously Lowry and Chris Davis is doing really well still. Matt Olson, so it's not that barren there like people might think. We already talked about Austin Meadows.
Yep.
I mean, there's really not much else to say.
Yeah, moving on then to
It's a
Omar.
short-term ad. The problem with him is Wellington Castillo is going to return from suspension, but until that happens, I think he needs to be owned. We do a top 10 players from the last week, top 10 performers, and I think the past 3 to 4 weeks that we've done it, he's been on it every single time. So I think it's about time we just mention him worth adding, I mean, catcher's pretty barren.
Yeah, it's a wasteland. So if you need average, especially, because that's not something you find a lot at catcher, then he might be worth a pickup.
Yeah, sometimes with catcher, you want to almost get a specialist.
His average looks good.
Mm-hmm.
It's like I own Mike Zeno, and I know I'm not going to get anything as far as batting average, but the home run should be there. So if you're looking for batting average, he's definitely worth adding. And then let's move on to the starting pitchers, which not the strongest group this week. I think the recent weeks we've had much better options, but Eric Rodriguez has been much better than I expected, and I know you've mentioned him a lot as a streaming option now, but I think he's reaching the level where he should just be rostered.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, nobody really expected this out of him when he got the call up because he was just kind of a middle of the lane minor league pitcher, but he's been pitching with a sub-3 ERA this season over 9 starts. Decent whip, decent strikeouts, nothing to blow you away, but he's been really good over the past month and change. He's given up 2 runs since June 24th in 5 starts.
Mm-hmm.
So pretty phenomenal. He's changed his pitch mix a little bit. Actually, The Athletic has a really good article on how Buster Posey has helped him to use all 5 of his pitches a lot better. So I encourage everyone to read that if you are interested. But it's really shown that he's been able to develop, and mostly it's pitch mix that's allowed him to have more success.
Yeah, a lot of times you have to keep in mind you can't always just go off of like prospect pedigree because you see players make changes and stuff like Chacin adding a pitch and doing really well this year, or Charlie Morton kind of developing from like a middle of the road relief back in starting pitcher to now he's like top 10, 15. So I think he's definitely worth rostering, and San Francisco should provide a little bit more wins than they have so far this year, but especially for win potential, Shane Bieber has to be owned if you're looking for wins because in 8 starts this year, he's got 5 of them. And the Indians are going to provide so much run support, even if he's not pitching that well. I mean, I still think he can do better than he's done. If you eliminate some really, really bad starts that he's made, his numbers are pretty solid.
The Tribe is winning, so they're giving him wins. Right?
That helps for sure. He's got 5 wins and 8 starts, right? So that's pretty solid ratio there. But he's been a little unlucky, too. All his ERA indicators indicate that he's not deserving of an almost 5 ERA. And combine that with the fact that he's got a 144 whip, but only has 8 walks in 45 innings. So he's not walking people. He's just getting unlucky, getting a lot of singles, and getting hit around a little bit, which should regress back to a better average.
He does seem to pitch to contact. He's not going to offer a lot of strikeout or inning potential, but like you said, he's more of a win specialist, I guess you could kind of say. But then
Pittsburgh's right-handed pitcher Nick Hingham, he's been pitching both the majors and the minors intermittently this rookie season. He's started to prove he might have the power to stay here long term.
Yeah, Heads that first start when he came back was terrible, but he's a much better pitcher than that, and he's had pretty strong numbers in the minors, definitely.
Yeah, he's got good K potential. His pitches are developing. He's been getting good success with his slider, his fastballs. He's got a couple variations. He's been doing well, but he's got a high ceiling, and that's what you're looking for. Especially if it's a deep league, you want to add Kingham with a high ceiling upside.
Yeah, like I mentioned, the ads this week are not the strongest as they've been in the past, but Max Fried, I think Brandon McCarthy's, his career is kind of winding down, so I'm expecting Fried to maintain a rotation spot the rest of the year, and he's shown flashes of being pretty decent. I'd say he's more of a deep league option, but I don't know. Ryan, what do you think? I mean, he's got a little bit of upside, not the greatest.
Yeah, it's not too phenomenal, like you said, but I mean, he's got a good K rate. It's a small sample size so far, but anytime you see a pitcher who's getting outs in multiple ways, like he's got a over 1 inning K rate and he's got a ground ball rate over 50%, and you've got the Atlanta defense behind you with Swanson and Dansby Swanson and Albie, so you're going to have pretty good success on those ground balls, getting outs. So I think there's some potential there, but again, like you said, this is a deep league ad.
Yeah, a lot of these ads are more based on run support and win potential. But as far as closers go, there's been a good amount of trades, and obviously it's going to have an effect on the ads. So Brad Brock, at least until Vizcaino returns, along with AJ Minter, are both probably going to see save opportunities. I don't think really Minter should be supplanted by Brock, but there is a chance of that because Brock has got more experience closing and he's a veteran. What do you think, Ryan?
Yeah, it's going to depend a little bit on the philosophy of the management, but I think that Minter has the better stuff, so hopefully he gets the better opportunity to close.
Mm-hmm.
Brock's still a few years removed from having a really good season, but he doesn't have near the closing experience that a lot of other relievers would. So I would say Minter should be the better option at this point and the more likely one.
You see a split for a little bit between them two?
Yeah, just
I
until
could see
Vizcaino
committee.
returns. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, a little bit.
Speaking of committee, it's looking like until Swarzak is moved, that's what it's going to be for the Mets. But Gesellman, it's confusing because he received pretty much all the save opportunities while Familia was there and while Familia went on the DL. So I don't know, Ryan, what do you think? I mean, it looks like Swarzak's just being showcased.
Yeah, that's exactly what I think. He's 30-something, 32 years old, I believe. And he's got a pretty expensive contract, so it seems odd that they would switch things around right now and give Swarzak the opportunities that Gesellman was getting in the past. So they must be trying to see if they can get any hype up, build some value, and trade him out so they can have Gesellman there for the future.
Mm-hmm. And this might be another temporary role, but Jace Fry for the White Sox, he's actually got, I mean, his ERA looks bad, but his whip and K per inning are pretty strong. I know Nate Jones is on the DL and could be an option to close once he returns, but
He's next in line.
I would roster Fry just in case that doesn't happen. And Jones has really not shown that he can stay healthy. So,
and they have no one else. They have Jean-Marc Gomez and Juan Minaya, who's having an awful season.
Yeah.
So I mean, it has to be
those
one
are
of the two
bad.
guys.
Those are bad options.
Yeah.
Gomez was a closer for the Phillies for a little bit, and that I was surprised how long that lasted for him. But there's also a chance that Kirby Yates has moved, who's closing for the Padres right now. So I think if you're looking for a stash, Craig Stammen has to be owned. His numbers are pretty strong. I don't know. What do you think about that, Brian? I mean, I guess if you don't even need saves, he's worth owning just for the peripherals.
Exactly. I was going to say, yeah, even if, as far as stashes go, he's a pretty safe stash because you can plug him into the lineup in a relief spot. He's still going to get good numbers for you. He's got 51 innings so far this year, which isn't bad for a reliever, and a great K rate along with it. He's got 4 walks in 51 innings.
That's
so
really good.
For the K rate combined with 4 walks, yeah, he's
That's a
definitely
large
worth
sample
stashing.
size too. Yeah.
Exactly. Closers, especially, relievers and some closers have higher walk rates because they're trying to pump gas and get the strikeouts. So that's really impressive.
And you saw the Padres already moved Brad Hand and Adam Simber, so there probably is a pretty good chance Yates is going to get dealt. And that's it for ads.
Yeah, so you could subscribe to us on Twitter. We're at FSH Sports.
Oh, and also after the trade deadline, we're going to be releasing our I mean, we're already past the middle of the year, but the rest of season rankings we have, and we just want to make sure all the rosters are stabilized before releasing them, so everything's up to date and accurate.
That's right. Definitely, you can subscribe to our newsletter. We have a free newsletter,
Discord, Patreon,
all that stuff. And Ryan, you're at Baseball Big Head on Twitter.
You got it.
So yeah, you can find us there. Have a good one, guys.